Pleasant good night or pleasant good day, wherever you are in the world. Starting a little stream here. It's not going to take too long. All right, so there's a couple things y'all need to know. First of all, Israel just attacked Iran. So Israel did attack Iran sometime this afternoon. So that went down. And this site here, Megatron, keeps on reporting the news. But as you know, what's happening in America kind of mirrors what's happening in Israel, in the sense that in Israel, they're trying to get rid of the Palestinians from out of Palestine. And in America, they're trying to get rid of particularly Mexican immigrants, but there are other immigrants as well, minorities. They're trying to flush out America of minorities. They're saying illegal minorities, and they're clamping down on them. And there's tremendous pushback by the people. And so the Florida sheriff, he declared that they would kill violent protesters in cold blood. He said if you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we'll be notifying your family where to collect your remains at because we will kill you. Graveyard dead. We're not going to play. Okay. So I'm going to play the video for you so you can hear it, and then we'll move from there. Just make sure my volume is up. It is. Okay, good. All right, here we go.
All right. And if somebody wants to know what I mean, so I'm gonna break it down for you. All right. And if somebody wants to know what I mean by turn violent, all right, this is what I mean. If you resist lawful orders, you're going to jail. Let me be very clear about that. If you block an intersection or a roadway in Brevard County, you are going to jail. If you flee arrest, you're going to go to jail tired because we are going to run you down and put you in jail. If you try to mob rule a car in Brevard County, gathering around it, refusing to let the driver leave, in our county, you're most likely going to get run over and dragged across the street. If you spit on us, you're going to the hospital and in jail. If you hit one of us, you're going to the hospital and jail, and most likely get bitten by one of our big, beautiful dogs that we have here. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at, because we will kill you graveyard dead. We're not going to play. This has got to stop. You're watching what's taking place out there. You're seeing police officers that are being attacked, being spit on, being put in harm's way just for doing their jobs. You're seeing ICE agents that are being targeted for doing their jobs. And you're seeing obstructionists that are doing all of this, standing in the way of law and order. So I'm gonna break it down.
Okay, so that's what he said. Now, you know, there's something called humility. What this guy doesn't realize is he doesn't know. I called him an asshole, and I think of him as an asshole, and I'll tell you why. They care about their police officers more than they care about protecting the civilians. So if you pick up a brick to throw or firebomb or whatever, cocktail, whatever, and throw at one of the deputies, they're going to kill you dead. That's what they said, right? They're saying we're not going to play. Now, you just gave us information. You see, this guy doesn't even know what he's doing. See, he thinks he's escalating the situation. He's trying to say that we're in control of this situation and you will do what we say. Now, first of all, even illegal immigrants pay taxes through purchasing taxes, which translate into tax money to the government, which translates into paying for these police officers to work. What this officer needs to understand, I don't care what rank he is. What he has to understand is we the people pay you. We the people pay your salary. So when you try to threaten us, not understanding we have more power over you, Your job is to protect and serve and keep the peace. That's your job. If you're not keeping the peace, but instead you're ripping families apart instead of protecting families, you are enforcing mayhem and chaos through armed presence, and you're behaving, thinking you have the law behind your side, and behaving in a Gestapo manner. You're coming in with masks and shit, so they can't be identified, and you're shooting at people, civilians, whether they're peacefully or otherwise, and you are also abducting people without due process. If you're doing that, and the population is against that, you have to understand something now. When you put down this threat here, you have to understand something. You just said you're not going to play. Okay, that's cool. You think because you have some authority and you're a law enforcer, that means we just cower behind that and we just, oh, yes, officer. Oh, wow, you're not going to play. Oh, we're so scared. No, motherfucker. No, motherfucker. Because the people who you are threatening right now are the same people who you're already harming. So all you are doing as an officer of the law is putting a bullseye on yourself. You've just become a target. You don't even know it. You just become a target. In other words, if I know that if I throw a brick or a cocktail or something at an officer, he's going to kill me, then I'm not going to throw a brick or a cocktail or point my gun at him to simply deter him and harm him. I will do so to kill him. Because the officers of the law have become enforcers of injustice and therefore are the enemy. You have just put down an ultimatum that you're going to regret. Because guess what? How many law enforcement officers are there versus how much of the population is already armed, have licensed weapons, and will use them? See, this sort of threat that this officer puts down in Florida can only work if the public decides to cower to the law enforcement. But it's not going to work if the public decides that the law enforcement is not behaving in the interest and spirit of the law and takes that ultimatum as a death sentence to officers who come through with excessive and deadly force. If you're going to use excessive and deadly force, then we will have to use excessive and deadly force back at you. And we may look like the villains, but you're not going to be able to railroad over us and do what you like with us. You're not going to punk us, and you're not going to scare us. What this officer is forgetting that in Florida, carrying a licensed firearm is legal. And all that means is, especially those country folk, those country folk have suffered a lot. The people you call white trash, when they take up arms and they come at your ass, they're coming. And they're coming to kill you because you put down this stupid ultimatum. Instead of trying to seek peace, you come and threaten people. You're already threatening with your actions, seizing people from their families and so on. Now you have people taking up arms to come at your ass, to take you out. They weren't planning to take you out. They were just trying to make a statement and peaceful protest, that kind of thing. You decided, no, that's not good enough. If you try to be violent in any way, shape, or form, we're going to use the full might that we have available to us to exterminate you. Okay, then. Good luck on that, because you see, you have to understand people are losing less and less faith in authority because authority is proving to be corrupt. So when you threaten people like that and you say those kinds of things, you best be able to back that shit up, because they're going to test you, and they're going to test you very heavily. And you're going to have casualties. You're going to have a lot of police casualties because of that stupid statement you made that reckless statement you made. Who the fuck do you think you are? That's what people are going to say. Who the hell do you think you are? You think because you're a police officer, you're something special? Usually that's the case because you would enforce the law. But in this case, you're not enforcing the spirit of the law. You're not enforcing anything. People are protesting and they're rioting because the structure of law has been fragmented. The spirit of the law has been violated by racist people with racist agendas. And the people are not going to have that. And if it has to be a fight back, they will fight back. And they will fight back extremely violently, and blood will flow in the streets. And I guarantee you this, if the people band together and fight back, you're going to lose. I don't care how much technology and stuff you have, they'll wipe you off the face of that county. They'll wipe you out. You have no idea how powerful people are. You have no idea what the power of people can do. And there will be mass casualties of people, no doubt about that. But there'll also be mass casualties of law enforcement, military, National Guard, etc. And I do feel a considerable amount of people will defect from the police force, will defect from the National Guard, will defect, you know why? Because their families will be at risk. And they're going to protect their families. So you'll have a mass defection of American military, of National Guard, of police force workers, because this one will hit close to home. I'm not going to arrest my own family. I'm not going to bomb or kill or shoot to death my own family. Not going to do that. I'll pick up arms and protect them, though. America is falling apart, and Donald Trump is accelerating the process of tearing this empire apart. And the reason why we are having these unrest inside of America right now, which kind of mirrors the unrest that's happening in Palestine and the Middle East, is because the government of America does not care about the people and never has. And it's only now it's coming very blatant and obvious. They're targeting college students who speak, in a language that criticizes Israel. They're attacking immigrants now. They're attacking immigrant students. They've been attacking. Now, don't get me wrong. This has been happening all along. Even under the Biden administration, under Barack Obama administration, this Gestapo shit has been happening. Okay, people have been protecting other people, but it's been happening. So it's not just Donald Trump, but it's very obvious. It's very open, and they're taking drastic measures under Donald Trump to try and clamp down and make this happen. And they're trying to accelerate towards this process, and they don't understand. You affect enough people, and this is what they're doing, and this is why you're going to get the pushback. You affect enough people in such a mass scale, and all the people will turn against you. And I guarantee you, right now in America, there are, of course, the minority people who are going with Trump headlong and they're just going along with him. Yeah, that's a vocal minority that's there. But the majority of Americans have already turned against Donald Trump, think of him as a traitor, a betrayer of the people. He's trying to accelerate the process of getting what needs to be done for Israel done. But I can guarantee you this. The majority of people are starting to take action. They're not just talking anymore. They're acting. And this guy trying to talk tough, because, police have certain weapons, they're trained to shoot and all that, really doesn't mean shit. They have no idea what's coming. They have no idea what's coming. I'm going to say it again. World War III is the people versus their governments. And I'm going to say this to the government politicians. You lived a cozy life doing your corrupt practices. That day's over. This time is called the year of uprising. And a lot of people are going to rise up in numbers, and they're going to overthrow governments, and they're going to do all kinds of crazy things. And for a season, it'll be slightly chaotic, and then it will normalize. And there'll be peace for a season, and then it'll get worse than it was even before the chaos happened. But I'm just saying, this is a battle that will be won by the people. And I'll tell you why this. It's because everything's in the open. There's no lies. Everybody knows what's going on. You see, you have to deceive the people in order to pull things like this. And the people are not deceived. They can see all the plays. So, as I said before, and I'm going to repeat it, this threat that this guy is making in Florida, that might work for people who are intimidated by you. It's called intimidatory tactics. But it definitely won't work for the people who are being affected by this ICE regime, which means, and there are people within the police force who are being affected by this. So expect an epic and monumental pushback on this guy and on the regime. It's so stupid that they're trying to purge different places of immigrants, non-white immigrants, obviously. So I know the pushback's going to be epic on that. And that's because this guy doesn't have any humility. See, if you're a humble guy, if you're a humble person, especially as a leader, if you're humble enough to listen to people, see their concerns, and address those concerns, then you can de-escalate a situation. In fact, sometimes you can even conduct your affairs still, but have the people sedated. So they're still carrying out the agenda, but they're sedated. This is what Democrats generally do. They try to deflect and take away the tension from the situation, even though the thing's still going on. But I would say this. Humility allows you to listen to people. The feds or the ICE representatives that come into an area, like for instance, what's happening in California, the mayors of California are against what's happening there. And it's very important for these mayors and for the governors to pass legislature freezing the federal government from doing anything further in California. All you have to do is pass legislature and freeze them. In states which support and allow for the federal government to carry out what it's doing in them, the people have to put up tremendous resistance. And if it means taking the lives of some of these officers and federal agents and so on, so be it. Because it's against the Constitution of the United States of America, what is happening, and it's also against the spirit of the country. So that white supremacist bullshit is not going to fly. Voice of rabbis, the wars, actions, and political agenda of the State of Israel in no way represent the Jewish people. Israel is not a synonym for Jews or Judaism. It's a political state established less than a century ago. The Jewish people are a religious community spanning many nationalities and countries across the globe. Israel is not our country. Its leaders do not speak or act in our name. Torah, Judaism. Okay? Authentic Torah Jew. Shout out to the Jewish people, the voice of rabbis. You notice Yemen also has Jewish people in there. As you know, the Zionists follow Kabbalah, which is sort of the precursor for Freemasonry. And therefore, they have the Talmud. The Talmud is not any sacred book. That's something created later on. The Torah is the official book for which the Old Testament of the Bible comes from. And the Torah is different to the Talmud. Okay, that's something the Zionist Jews follow, the Talmud. The Torah is the book I know about, not the Talmud. All right. Why is this important? Because, as you know, Netanyahu he seems as though he sent out a strike to Iran. The reason that's happening is because uh, the the uh, the dissolution of the Knesset, or what's known as the Israeli Parliament. There was a vote 2 hours before, I think yesterday, to dissolve the Israeli Parliament. And so that's why Netanyahu is so desperate to strike Iran right at this time to save his political career. So he's trying to do that. As you know, he's a very wicked man. He tried to pitch that, America is Satan and that, Israel is little Satan. And, that they're trying to overtake the world. And I'll say this, that enforcing this agenda as hard as they can, because they know it's no turning back. Israel's going to be looked at and scorned by the world. It is hated by the world right now. America's also hated by the world, to be honest with you, now more than ever, because once again, the country, they're doing evil, wicked things right now to the Palestinians. Whole world seeing that, and now we're seeing, oh, so they're involved in the Congo, and they're involved in Sudan and Somalia. Oh, they were involved in Libya and Iraq and Syria, and now they're going after Iran. Okay, I see. So everybody sees the play. They understand these are wicked, evil people. So the population of America right now, they're horrified by what's happening in Palestine. The population of America is disgusted with what is happening in America, with the people who are critical of Palestine, whether it be students, whether it be professors, etc. They're targeting different people. They have some legislature that they try to put out. And then they're disgusted with what's happening with the immigrants in the United States of America. So all around, white supremacism seems to be a thing. Um, whether it's in Israel with the European people who came down there and claimed that they have Jewish ancestry in that region, to trying to colonize the region, to the disgusting foolishness that's happening in America, where white people are not going to be the majority, so they're trying to ethnically cleanse as many people out of the country as possible, and it's crazy what's going on. But I have to say, I am so proud of so many people who have put the puzzles or the pieces together and now taking action on that. It's not just protest action you have to take, as we know. You sabotage just about everything you possibly can sabotage because the law is on your side, the Lehi law. Very recently there, Medea, I think it's Benjamin is her name, Medea. Let me see if I can find her. Fuck this stupid ass idiot. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can find her here. They arrested Code Pink leader, Medea. They put her in handcuffs. Let's see here. So I can find her here. She's somewhere here. They're really trying to stop Medea. I hope she got free. I will find her in a minute. Satan Yahoo trying to convince people to go to war. I have it somewhere around here. It's earlier on. Of course, the people in the flotilla who went to Gaza and were intercepted in international waters. Of course, they also are, some are still in Israel. They say they're going to force deport them, but they're not signing anything. They're not agreeing to anything. Oh, by the way, Smotrich and Ben Gavir, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, Norway, and UK have decided to sanction Israel's Minister of Finance, Bezalel Smotrich, and Minister of National Security. Itmar Ben Gavir. So that's good. Again, your pressure has caused that to happen. Let me just try and find this thing. Here we are. Okay, I want you to see this. Here we go.
$1 trillion for military. We have the Secretary of Defense here talking, and they're saying that the U.S. budget of $1 trillion for militarism isn't enough for all the threats we face in the world. You know why we face threats in the world? Because we support genocide. That's why we face threats. And if we stop supporting genocide, if we stopped, then we wouldn't face these threats in the world. So I say,
Yeah, why are you doing this in the hallway? Excuse me. Excuse me, why are you doing this here?
So isn't it ironic that the person who speaks out for peace and international law and respect for U.S. law
Ma'am,
is
why are
getting
you
treated
just-
like this in the hallway? I'm obviously such a great
She's not.
Probably will be about 100 lawyers signing on to this letter talking about how the U.S. is violating
can you please-
Leahy laws, is violating the State Department's own laws, and is and that's going to the judiciary. I want people to see this is how they treat peacemakers.
This is Officer
how they
Woodman.
treat you
She's doing
in
this.
the public when you speak out for stopping a genocide. If you are supporting a genocide, you would be in there being lauded for your work. Everything is upside down. Everything is backwards. People who support morality, decency, an end to the killing, an end to the suffering, an end to the starvation are treated as if we are terrorists. And I'll be taken to jail right now. And I am being treated, look at how I'm being treated. I mean, it's disgusting.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, well, people in Gaza are being treated a lot worse than this, and that's why we're doing this. Oh,
We're in this
Congressman
building.
Adler,
They
please,
do not-
the lawyers are saying that the U.S. is violating its own laws by sending weapons. Will you call for an end to the transfer of Congressman Adler? We must speak to you. Congressman Adler, will you call for an end to the transfer of U.S. weapons to Israel? About 100 lawyers, including from the State Department, are saying that the U.S. weapons are violating U.S. law and international humanitarian laws. Please, Congressman Adler, can you turn around for a minute and address me? I'm trying to help stop a genocide. Congressman Adler, will you do something about this? He is the ranking member of the Judiciary Committee. And now there are all these lawyers, including in the administration, that are saying the U.S. is violating its own laws. And this ranking member of the Judiciary wouldn't even turn around while I'm being arrested for the
Just need
simple
to step back so that you can be searched and
trying
everything.
to
You're allowed to film, but you have to be.
stop a genocide.
So Medea Benjamin was arrested. They arrested her for speaking out against a genocide. And they called Code Pink a terrorist organization, which it is not. Abir was saying, oh my God, Medea of all people. And she was really angry about it. And we should be angry about it. And there's something we can do about it. Of course, I'm thinking Medea is free now. I'm going to check to see. She's not afraid, obviously, of standing up for this stuff. And she's in the front lines. Of course, history is not going to look favorably upon that and the draconian way and how these assholes behaved. And I'm surprised that people are trying to carry out their duties and doing this shit because, you shouldn't even be involved in this. I mean, you just have to ethically think about it and think about what these people are doing, but obviously not. So I just wanted to show you that because Medea's, let me look her up right now and see if she's okay. She's come out. Obviously, she's come out. I'm sure there's lawyers that back her up and stuff like that. So she should be out, but we'll see. Let me see here. Her name is Medea Benjamin. There she is. So she's obviously, I thought I was following her. Okay, now I'm following her. Okay, I thought I was following this guy too. Danny iPhone. Guess not. Okay, now I'm following him. Anyway, let me see here. So this is her page. And the last. Okay, so here we go. First of all, breaking Israel bombing Iran. Trump well aware this is going to happen right when U.S. and Iran are talking. The American people don't want a war with Iran. Stop Israel. So that's one. And this is a typical thing. Once there's negotiations going on, same thing happened with Russia. Ukraine launched attacks. The U.S. is doing negotiations with Iran. That's when Israel attacks Iran. But I'm telling you, Netanyahu had to do it because they were going to dissolve parliament. So this is his way of trying to keep things going. And so he's attacking Iran. So whatever happens from there on in, if Iran, and I think there's some damage in Iran, some people have died already in Iran. So I do think this is a provocation. I think Iran should just do what they need to do. I'm not going to say Iran shouldn't retaliate, and they should retaliate, and they should destroy Israel, and that's that. End the story. That Israel is the problem. The solution is Iran destroying Israel. Of course, other countries such as Turkey and so on, they would probably try and attack Iran. But to be honest with you, it's just better Israel is off the map. Israel off the map is one problem solved. you know? So I hope Iran does do the necessary for that. Senator Padilla was dragged out and handcuffed for standing up to the DHS. It's great to see him stand up for immigrant rights and peaceful protests. Maybe now he can finally stand up to AIPAC and stop fueling genocide in Gaza. Senator Padilla, by the way, he is a senator. He's actually a senator, and they actually handcuffed him, which is crazy. Now, Senator Padilla, he didn't stand up to AIPAC, so hopefully he will stand up to AIPAC, but he's actually standing up for the people there. So here it is.
And I don't know if you saw what happened when he was in the press conference with Homeland Secretary. We're outside Senator Padilla's office, and I don't know if you saw what happened when he was in the press conference with Homeland Secretary Kristi Noem, but he was trying to ask a question, and he got dragged out of there and manhandled and thrown to the ground and handcuffed. I mean, it's absolutely horrific, unacceptable. I'm glad to see the senator standing up for the immigrant community in California. I'm glad to see him standing up for peaceful protesters in California. Maybe it's about time for him to stand up to the AIPAC lobby and those who are always pushing for more weapons to Israel. Now that he's a feisty senator, let's stand up for the people of Palestine too. Thank you. We're outside. Ice cream, not bombs. Ben, where are we and why did you get this thing constructed?
We are right in front of Union Station in D.C. This is a structure that represents the $100 billion that our country spends each year on nuclear weapons. 50% of that is for a whole new generation of nuclear weapons. And we're here because this is the launch event for Up in Arms. It's a 4-year campaign to get our country to start funding the American dream instead of the death of millions of people. You were great.
Thank you. Ice cream, not bombs. Ice cream, not bombs.
So Medea is still around and she's popping. Okay. Here it is where they're pulling out Mr. Senator Padilla.
I also want to comment how many of our ice agents have been.
Guys, ready? And Bell. Sir, hands up. I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the secretary, because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your.
I also want to comment how many of our ice agents have been docked.
On the ground. Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back.
If you don't my hands, go ahead, find behind my back.
All right, cool. Other hand, lay flat, lay flat.
Other hand, sir. Other hand.
Okay, this is, as I said before, very Gestapo. He didn't advance. He didn't try to harm anybody. He was just asking questions, and he got this Gestapo treatment by supposedly law enforcement, which is ridiculous. To be honest with you, I don't know why. If you think you're doing your job, all those people should get sued and sued off the wazoo. That is absolutely wrong. That's a violation of all kinds of rights there. So anyway, shout out to Medea. Here's Medea again. This is really serious, folks. We've got to prevent a war with Iran. Well, that's too late. Israel has attacked Iran. I don't know what this is about, but I don't care. So yes, Ben Cohen again from Ben and Jerry's just unveiled the tower of sculpture at DC, showing what $100 billion in nuclear weapons spending looks like. That's what the U.S. blows every year, half of it on building new nukes, while people here can't afford rent, insulin, clean water. This is a bunch of up in arms, a 4-year campaign to expose the insanity of prioritizing mass deaths over human need, because if a government can build a new generation of nukes, but not confront climate change, it's not national defense. And Ben and Jerry's, Ben from Ben and Jerry's, he's so right. So I'm happy to see Ben and Jerry's finally joining in the fight. He also was arrested. I got a bunch of people who got Gestapo treatment out here. And of course, Medea is in the front lines. She is a beast. That woman is a beast. And she just keeps on fighting. And she don't play around, man. She's a beast. And she gets brutalized, all kinds of crazy things. You know what I'm saying? Medea Benjamin says we confronted Secretary Pete Hegseth to demand an end to U.S. militarism at home and abroad, while children die in Gaza from U.S.-funded bombs, or streets are flooded with tanks and militarized police. ICE terrorizes immigrant communities. The Pentagon war machine fuels genocide abroad and repression at home. No more weapons to Israel. No more Marines on the street. No more ICE raids. No more war. From D.C. to Palestine, we demand justice, not genocide. And here we go.
Thousands of tanks in this capital. Secretary, you get to decide your legacy. Don't let it be one of the continued genocide of the Palestinian people. Stop arming Israel and stop militarizing our streets here. Secretary, we have continued to bomb and obliterate people in Palestine. You are directly funding the genocide of the Palestinian people, the rise of the militarization of our streets. We need ICE out of the streets, not the Marines on the streets from LA to DC. There are thousands of tanks in this capital. Why?
The American people don't want to keep funding Israel's war. It's a genocide. The American people don't want to go to war with Iran, and we don't want the military on our streets.
Stop the tanks.
Stop the endless wars.
From DC
Stop
to
supporting
Palestine.
genocide.
The Pentagon budget should not be the priority.
Stop killing children in Gaza with U.S. weapons. No more money to Israel, no more weapons, no more intelligence, no more support for the Israeli genocide. Secretary, stop supporting Israel's genocide.
We came to the office of Anna Paulina Luna because we saw a very crazy tweet that she put out saying that she wants the Speaker of the House to investigate about Code Pink being banned from Congress.
I think it's fair that we come and let her know that she is making baseless lies about us being funded by the Chinese Communist Party when she is backed by AIPAC. She got over 28K from AIPAC. So how dare she talk about banning Code Pink and claiming that we're funded by a foreign entity when she herself is funded by an Israeli lobby group?
We were shocked to see this tweet that the Congresswoman.
Secretary, you get to decide your legacy. Don't let it be one of the continued genocide of the Palestinian people. Stop
Medea's
arming
doing all
Israel.
right. They arrested her, but she's cleared out of there. Let's see what else we got here. Humility. Humility is it's a very interesting thing. I'll be real with you. Humility is not stupidity. All right. Yeah. Okay, so Superman was punching out some villain's teeth from his mouth and was bouncing off the camera lens of the camera in space. We have these wacky, last things with Superman just looking weird at the end of the trailer. I mean, listen, I don't even want to talk about James Gunn. We know it's going to flop, and I'm done with that. I really don't feel like talking about him. He's kind of playing the Donald Trump thing where he's the center of attention. I really don't care about him like that. So I'm not going to waste your time. What I'm going to tell you is this. The company Warner Brothers Discovery, I believe that they're trying to get DC bought over by Disney. So that's why they're formatting it like the MCU, and they're talking about, everything, they're trying to follow the model of the MCUs because they're trying to get DC bought out by Disney. This is the bottom line. This is the important thing you need to understand. That's the big picture. And they really don't care if Superman does well or it flops. They put James Gunn there so that it can go across to Disney and Disney can handle it. The problem is, if this movie doesn't do well at all, the value of DC is just going to go down even further. And I don't know if David Zaslav wanted to sell off the DC properties because there's another problem. The MCU is also having problems and it's flopping. There's a flop fest going on in the MCU as well. The only thing that I think landed out of all the movies that have been done so far is Deadpool and the Wolverine. We haven't not had another DC MCU success since then, and that was last year. So the MCU is not doing well either, and they're trying to do what they did with Barbie and with Christopher Nolan's movie. I forgot what the name of it is. Where they're trying to match up Superman with Fantastic Four. But the Superman movie is so badly done. Like I said before, I don't really want to talk about it. I do little tweets on Twitter, but I really don't really pay attention much. I'm really not a guy who pays attention much to James Gunn stuff because I think he's the wrong guy for the job. I already know this movie's not going to do well. So I'm not really into that. Really, I don't really want to go there. I've said certain things to certain people, but we already know what's going to happen with this film. So I don't really want to talk about that. I want to talk about the fact that WB, Warner Bros. Discovery, is going to continue to shoot themselves in the foot. And as I said before, I believe there's a lot of their executives we're actually speaking to, a lot of these so-called fans that we're talking with, the DC fans, who have this hate for Zack Snyder and all of that. It's really WB shills. It's really people who work with the company that we're actually interacting with, for the most part. So I'm just letting you guys know that's what's really going on. Free Palestine, they can't stop that. Palestine will be free, and Israel's going to get destroyed. And I really couldn't care less for Israel, really. The only thing is I care about some of the people in Israel who have the same view that Palestinians are being treated badly, the war is unnecessary, etc. Those people I feel for. But the rest, I really don't feel anything for them because they're wicked, evil people. As to restoring the Snyderverse, we're definitely going to see that. That's definitely going to happen. And no matter how much these execs, again, the power of the people versus the power of governance. We seem to always go up against governance that is corrupted. And obviously this governance in WB is heavily corrupted. But as I said before, and they're Zionists actually that run WB. So I don't see David Zaslav anytime soon greenlighting Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3. That's not going to happen. What I think is going to happen is WB as a company is either going to be sold off to someone else, and David Zaslav obviously is making that move to split to Discovery and Warner Brothers Pictures, that is the studio. He's splitting back up because he knows they're going to have to sell off the studio, and it looks like they want to sell the studio to Disney. This is what I think they're trying to do. But I think ultimately, in the end, it may just be Universal that buys off. Comcast might buy off the studio end of it, things, and Discovery will keep, CNN and those other things. That'll be more what they will keep, the news outlets and stuff like that. So I do think that Zaslav's going to try and sell it off. He's going to try and sell it off. If this movie, especially if this movie flops, which it will flop, so they're probably going to sell it off. And I think a company like Comcast is going to take it because Universal's kind of on the up and up, and they have been having a number of wins, big time wins with their properties. And Jurassic Park's going to be another one that I think they're going to do well with. So when people are saying that Jurassic Park won't do that well, that's a sure hit. Jurassic Park's going to hit. Then they're not going to mess with that. I don't care how much they make. I know it's going to be close to $1 billion. So it's maybe B minus or plus, or it may be way over it. But Jurassic Park's going to hit. Jurassic Park's going to make money. It always has made money, and it always will make money. That's just a hit. That's what it is. And the right people are doing it. So it's definitely, and it looks like it's kind of scary, but yet at the same time has certain comical elements that they're keeping out of the foreground right now, and that's okay. So I think that's the only thing that actually intrigues me. People like Fantastic Four. I don't really give a fuck about Fantastic Four. I couldn't care less about that. I don't care about that. I clearly don't care about Superman. I do care about actually Karate Kid. Now that's interesting me. That has interested me. I still want to see. I haven't gone to watch it in the cinema, and I don't have Amazon Prime, so probably not going to watch it. But I still want to see The Accountant 2. I'm still very, very curious about it. Yes, I see it's more comical, and the first one was really good. So I don't know if the second one's as good as the first one, as I said before. But I still want to see it. There's a curiosity. The chemistry between John Bernthal and Ben Affleck is sort of interesting. So I want to see, and I don't know the story really. So The Accountant still intrigues me. Karate Kid Legends. I want to see that. Jurassic Park might get me out there to watch it. I might just actually go and see Jurassic Park. That looks interesting. I'm not gonna lie. So you may get me to come out into the cinema and see Jurassic Park. You might actually get me to see that. Because it's got a tension to it, the way how they're advertising it, the quality of it, the cinematography of it, it just looks good. And it's my kind of movie. And I remember it kind of brings some of the early Jurassic Park vibes back to it. Not so much the mystery and wonder, because the soundtrack for that thing was great as well. And of course, the how do I put it? I'm not really into the Jurassic Park lore like that. I can tell you every single dinosaur or something like that. But what I can tell you is, even though this Jurassic Park won't have the awe and wonder of first seeing Jurassic Park, and it's not Jurassic Park, it's Jurassic World or something like that. I'm still interested in the storyline and where they're going with it. People say it's like Kong Skull Island, maybe. I don't know. But I'm intrigued still. The way how you pitch or you market a film really can make people either interested or not. And it's a critical thing, and I think Jurassic World, or whatever it's called, is good. And that's the only thing I'm probably interested in for the summer. The Karate Kid thing, yeah. The Accountant too, I would like to see that. And I think, obviously, I would like to see Avatar 3 that's coming out at the end of this year. That definitely is something on my list that must-see movie. If there's a movie that I must see, it's that. I definitely want to see James Cameron's Avatar 3, the fire thing. So I'm looking forward to that one as well. Aaron Fisher says Gunn said it wasn't going to have the same tone as, like I said before, I don't even care about talking about James Gunn or anything like that. Really, I'm not going to give the movie that kind of time of day. Supergirl says Henry Cavill refuses to take steroids to muscle up for Man of Steel. He also refused any digital enhancements to his body in shirtless scenes. He said it would have been dishonest and wanted to push his body to the limits to develop a physique worthy of Superman. Look at this guy. I was like, God damn. Dude, this dude's physique is ridiculous. And, I was highly impressed. And like, I don't think, how many of you guys realize that almost every single Superman movie we've seen, Superman was lame as hell. Like, he was this pretty boy, they didn't want to show how strong he was. Henry convinced us that Superman was strong. And not only was he strong, but he was a no-nonsense kind of guy, meaning he did what he said he was going to do. So if he was going to do something, he was going to do it. Real if you know people from the Midwest, when they say something, they do it. They're people of their word. And so it was like seeing him doing that, seeing him save the people in the oil rig, come out the water after the oil rig fell down. And this is the guy we're looking at. You don't doubt. It's not, oh, he's wearing a muscle suit. You don't even see that, because it's like you look at his physique and you're like, yeah, that's him. When you see him in the suit, it's like, yeah, that's definitely Henry Cavill. You accept that because you've seen what this dude had muscles in his back. This dude had muscles in his back. When I saw this guy come out, he wasn't just big, he was hulky. He looked like the fucking Hulk. And he still looks like the fucking Hulk. And I know Henry, he really worked hard and trained hard for months, almost a year, I think, to get into that kind of shape, which is just freaking ridiculous. This dude looks big and strong as hell. Like, look at him, man. He's beefy, he's strong. It's freaking Superman right there. Like, I haven't seen a strong looking Superman like this. And of course, this changed everything. Now, just in case you guys don't understand what I mean by Henry Cavill sort of changed the way how Superman was viewed. All right, so you have Superman, Christopher Reeve version, okay? You have Superman, George Reeves version, right? The George Reeves version, okay? George Reeves' version was matter of fact, just like Henry, but for the time, I guess it was revolutionary, but it was wacky. He leap up in the air and just kind of, you see him flying, and then sometimes it's an animation for him, sometimes and you hear the breeze blowing and stuff. It's just really funky and funny, all right? And the Christopher Reeve version, which revolutionized the way how he flew to some degree. They used all kinds of technology and stuff. At the time, it was cutting edge. And it made you believe that but when it comes to Christopher Reeve Superman and the comics, comic Superman was different to Christopher Reeve Superman. Because Superman is very decisive. He's a take charge kind of guy. He tries to find solutions as quickly as possible. Superman's not this smiley guy, that just goes and saves cats in trees and stuff. Don't get me wrong. Superman does that. But what I'm saying is that's just not all he does, okay? And saves people. Superman in the comics, he's fighting tremendous villains. He's in great adventures. He's killing people at times. He comes through. Sometimes he bullies people. So it's a little different. Comic book Superman is different to the Christopher Reeve version. When Christopher Reeve came on the scene, he sort of altered how Superman was seen and sort of altered Superman a bit. Okay? And then we had Superman and Super Friends. But again, Superman always take charge, leader of the Justice League. Superman was very decisive. Again, this is not Christopher Reeve Superman. Christopher Reeve Superman was friendly, more interactive. There was a lot more comedy in it and slapstick humor. Yeah, Superman kind of is take charge, but he's not take charge, take charge. Like, all right, this is what we need to do, right? He's not that guy, okay? Now, Henry Cavill's that guy. But Henry Cavill is a little bit more subtle in the sense that Henry Cavill, look how he, again, very kind of military kind of minded. Again, Henry Cavill comes from a military family, kind of military minded. That is to say, Superman, when he's dealing with, for example, Colonel Hardy, for example, he saves Colonel Hardy's life, and then he stops, Fayora, and then he gets rammed with a train and comes out, and the military guys was like, well, what about the man in blue? And you remember they said, Colonel Hardy said, shoot all of them. And Superman, he gets targeted, he gets hit, but yet he's saving people's lives in the middle of this combat, right? He's stopping Fayora from taking out, a pilot, he's taking on Fayora. And this is an evolving Superman. This is not Superman as we know him now, to take charge Superman. This is Superman is learning how to fight. He's learning, his strengths and powers as he's fighting. So he's evolving, right? And he's taking on Fayora. Fayora's kicking his ass in the beginning, and then he turns around and starts kicking her ass. But then Namek comes in the mix, and and all this hail of fire powers happening in the middle of all that. They're fighting, and so it's very comic booky, right? The stuff that I read in, for example, Superman issue number 5, or in Action Comics number 7. You start to see those aspects of Superman now playing out, and then you start to see, well, those are more old time stuff, of course, and not modern warfare. But when you look at the modern versions of Superman, when you look at Superman, I believe it's issue 230 or something like that in the 80s, where he's taking on and he's on trial for certain things that he's done. Then you start to see the evolution of Superman. You start to see Superman now, in different scenarios and different circumstances where the world doesn't necessarily appreciate him, and he's being tried. He's being tried in intergalactic places and all of that. But all I'm saying is that Superman goes on various adventures. Okay, but Superman is the guy that people still look for initiative and leadership. For example, in Man of Steel, Superman, after Lois Lane tells Superman what they need to do to take down General Zod and his army, Superman comes with the proposed plan with the spaceship and stuff. Right? This is after they call him Superman and stuff. He comes with the spaceship. He explains what they could do with the generals. Once they come to a conclusion, Superman now proceeds to the Indian Ocean to stop the world engine, right? So you can see that Superman is coordinating with mankind, but in a way, because he has the answers to the problem, he's sort of initiating, here's our plan of action. Here's something I want to pitch to you guys, but here's the plan of action we can take. So that's what's kind of cool about Superman here. He's sort of having a dialogue with humanity. He's not just, taking charge and running things over humanity. He doesn't do that. He's coordinating with humanity. Now, and not in a superficial sort of way. They're literally formulating a plan. They have a plan, and then they take action. And so humanity has their role to play, and Superman has his role to play, So I thought it was really cool. And that those are some of the things about Henry Cavill's Superman that I don't know what James Gunn is going to do with Superman. I have an idea what he's going to do, but I just don't see him doing something like that, right? And the thing about it is, because Zach came from a more sincere place and from a more realistic place and a more serious place with Superman, which is more like the comics, by the way. The comics, Superman is Superman's always on an adventure, right? That's the cool thing about Superman. Superman's always on an adventure of some kind. It's not so much that Superman, people like to talk about Superman as bright and, hopeful, and that's cool, but that's not what makes Superman stories gripping. That's not what gets our interest. It's the villain and the opponent that Superman's going up against. And it's also the adventure that Superman is going on And Lewis Lane's involved, or his photographer, his cameraman, Jimmy Olsen's involved. But there's an adventure. The point is, it's all about adventure. Superman's about adventure, okay? And yes, the cornerstone of it is hope, all right, which comes in many different forms. So it's not about it's not about the comedy aspect of it. Superman, it's not about comedy. Superman, a lot of Superman comics are not like Thor comics. Thor comics have more humor in them. Superman comics don't really have that much humor in them. And that's where Christopher Reeve's Superman, at least the first one, the first movie, kind of veered away. They decided to have charm. They decided to have some comedy. They decided to have some romance, right? But really and truly, and there are stories within there are many Superman stories, okay? So I'm sure you could find one with romance and with a little comedy sprinkled here and there in it. But at the end of the day, with Superman, it's not really about the comedy. It's about the adventure. It's not about having a bright Superman. Superman goes through very, serious and sometimes depressing things that happen, and for issues it rolls on and on. I mean, Death of Superman comic, of course, is a big one. And the whole point behind it is it's an adventure you're going on. This is what makes comic books interesting. It's the adventure of it. It's the novelty of it, the novelty of the story, etc., etc., etc. It's not about being generic. It's not about being like every other comic. The comic book writers have to write something. Yes, they have some rules that govern them, but for the most part, they're telling different stories of this character and his journeys. Okay, and that's the key point, and that's why Zack Snyder's Superman has more in common with the comics than Christopher Reeve's Superman, unfortunately. And I blame the producers for firing Richard Donner, because I truly believe Richard Donner would have brought in much richer stories and much better stuff for Superman, and I don't believe in the Richard Donner cut. That's not what he really had in mind. He had something else in mind. And I wanted to see what he really had in mind, because I truly believe that both Christopher Reeve and Richard Donner, that partnership was a special one. And not only that, but I think those two together would have put together something really fantastic, because I don't think that we were introduced to Superman in 1978, right? But really and truly, I think Superman needed to go on a journey. Superman always goes on an adventure, so he's got to go on a journey. You get what I'm saying? And the stuff that one of our studios ended up doing with Superman, and all of that stuff over the period of 1978 to 1987. Just was, it took the joy out of the thing. And that's why, Superman 3 and 4 flopped. 2 is kind of saved because Richard Donner basically did all the principal photography, but Richard Lester finished it off and made it into a comedy. And this is not what Richard Donner wanted to do. He wanted to get more serious. He wanted to go deeper into the character, which is a crying shame, to be honest with you, and explore more of the character of Superman while carrying him on adventures. And this is the thing that Zack Snyder actually got to do. He had a lot of hiccups on the way. BVS was really a lovely deep dive into how we see Superman, our perception of Superman. What if Superman actually was here? This is how we would behave about him. He's not just reading him on a comic book page. What if he was here? And it's kind of like, what if Jesus was here right now, right? Most of the world wouldn't accept him either, right? The parallels, there are parallels, you can look at and see. Because, see, the thing about it is, once you have headhunters, once you have people who are in governance, they want the system to work in their favor to benefit them. And it's always been this way. This is why Lex Luthor, he was very challenged. Superman challenged his hegemony. China today is sort of like Superman, because China, economically speaking, is a powerhouse. And the US is threatened by the fact that China is so powerful economically. And so they think they threaten their hegemony. And as such, the reason why they're attacking Iran is severalfold. Trade routes, which would involve China and Russia, they're trying to make sure and put that in jeopardy by attacking Iran. So there's many different reasons why, not just Iran's support for Palestine, that is one of the things. It's also the fact that they are trying their best to break up this BRICS that Russia, China, Iran, Brazil, India, South Africa are the cornerstones of. That's why they're attacking South Africa. All of these attacks that you see the U.S. doing is because they're trying to preserve their hegemony, which they're losing. You see, as a world power, as a world superpower, they're diminishing and very rapidly in power. And his administration is really accelerating that. So that's why you're seeing what you're seeing. And you can see all the comments that really Lord Henry Cavill here. This is Henry Cavill very recently, about a day ago, at the Italian Film Festival. And again, kids love him. Kids love Henry. Henry's a big thing. He's a big deal. Henry cares about himself very well as well. So for all those reasons, Henry is a guy who, and again, Henry tends to want to move along the lines of the source material, the comic books, or the video games. When he was doing the I forget what the name is, the not the Watcher, the Witcher. When he was doing the Witcher, again, he really wanted to follow the source material a lot. And that just shows you how be true to it, not necessarily follow it, but be true to it. And you could tell Henry does his homework on things. So that's why, again, I don't understand why Warner Brothers and put James Gunn in power. I know why, but I'm just saying. They had a good thing there. They had Henry. They had Zach. They had, they had Christopher Nolan. They had something good, They even had David Goyer, they had Chris Terrio. I mean, they had something good. And for some reason, they decided, no, we need to get this DCU up and popping so it can mix with the MCU and sell it off to Disney, That's been in their heads for the longest while, and that's why things have just been going to the crapper. A lot of senates in Indiana, empty theaters. Okay. George W. Jedras says, if you ever wonder what you'd do during slavery, the Holocaust, or civil rights movement, you're doing it right now. Yep, nothing. Some people are doing absolutely nothing. Other people are actively active, which is very good. So you have the people who do nothing, and they're stupid, and they're frozen, and they're afraid, and they don't know what to do, and they need guidance. Other people are shills for the state, shilling out for the state or the establishment, like, for example, Warner Brothers. And then you have other people who have woken up, understand what the situation is, and are taking action. And that's the majority of you. And if you're watching this video, you probably are one of those people. Okay, I'm not going to go too much into anything else. There's a lot I could talk about, but I'm going to leave it right there. I'll try and do a follow-up video. You see, I don't really want to go into too much of anything. You know what I mean? Shout out to Koj, by the way. You guys go see his channel. He had a great protest. They went out and protested December 2023. It was a peaceful protest. Now things are a little bit rougher in LA and in that region, California. But he just wanted to give us a quick recap of something that happened in the past in 2023. But now it's beyond protesting. People are taking action. And you have to understand, taking action involves many different things, many different facets. Once the spirit of the law is on your side, you take action. You know what I'm saying? And that's the way how it should be. You know? Oh, nice. This is frozen. I want to see what this tastes like. Okay, so that's what I've got for you guys for today. I hope you guys have a good one. I'm going to wrap it up right there. Yeah, I'm going to wrap it up right there. So you guys have a good